This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I talk about the devastating knee injury that Nick Chubb had on Monday night against the Steelers. We talk about what it means both in the short term and the long term. We discuss who will fill in, how the Browns survive the rest of the season, and then we move into college football. We talk about all the big games from last week, the things we learned about Ohio State, Alabama, Florida, and then we focus on this week to the big matchup of Ohio State versus Notre Dame. All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are here in a, I would say, somewhat depressive state. I mean, kind of. I mean, the Florida Gators won, which no one saw that coming on God's green earth. And
not even me.
And Ohio State won. And so, you know, you would think, right, going to the rest of the weekend, Josh, we had Sunday coming or Monday coming. We knew Browns versus Steelers. We're like, you know, the Browns team's better. They got a good defense. The offense is better, or we think it might be better. We don't know. And then chaos erupts. But before we get into that, I just want to ask you, Josh, how was your weekend? And did you do anything crazy this weekend, or did you just kind of chill and do nothing?
I mean, you kind of already described it. It was good when both of our teams win. Had some friends over. Weather was nice. We had a fire, cooked out a little bit, and just enjoyed.
Is it still hot? Is it still hot in Ohio?
So it looks like it's going to heat up one more time.
Oh,
we had
goodness.
basically 65 to 70-ish degrees every day last week. We're approaching 80 today, and then I think Sunday we'll have 80 again. Yeah, but I don't know how much longer that could be the last of those. But
wow,
hasn't gone away just yet, Ben. But yeah, Saturday was great. Sunday didn't really watch many games just because our game was Monday, and
yeah.
I must confess, I didn't stay up all the way to the end. I was struggling to stay awake anyway, but I went to bed at halftime just hoping that things would turn around, and I woke up to find a lot of stuff that made no sense whatsoever.
That is true. We will talk about college football. We're flipping the script today, Josh. We normally talk college football. We're flipping the script. There's enough drama and chaos going on. And by the way, if you haven't heard what we're talking about, or if you have no idea what Josh is talking about, I don't recommend going on Twitter or anything like that, because I'm sure the video is still surfacing out there. It's pretty grotesque what happened to probably both of our favorite Brown, at least one of our favorite Browns, and Nick Chubb, who was on pace. You know, this season was going to be another, I think, good season. You know, we already consider him a top tier running back, you know, in Browns history, and he was on pace to have a Hall of Fame career. Before we kind of dive into the effects of what it has on the team, what is your thoughts, Josh? Now, we've heard rumblings that this is a close to, could be a career ender, could be a season-long ender. Like, I think we both can say, like, from the bottom of our hearts, that our prayers are to Nick Chubb. Like, when you see the Pittsburgh Steelers fans oohing and awing and then give you a round of applause as you're leaving the field, you know that it is not a good injury, and you know it's not something that's going to be like, oh, he'll be back in 4 weeks. What were your initial thoughts? And because my heart sunk, like I felt like I got hit by a 2-ton truck. And we'll get into the team stuff, but I want to get your thoughts on it first.
Yeah. So first thought was, we were coming up with all the scenarios that would have to happen for Pittsburgh to be able to beat Cleveland based on the way that week 1 went. And I threw out that one of Cleveland's star players is going to have to leave with an injury. And it happened to be Nick Chubb.
It's your fault.
It happened to be Nick Chubb. And if you're a Nick Chubb fan, or you're a football fan in general, this actually isn't even the first time he's had a leg injury that looked like this. He had one just like this at Georgia, and obviously was able to come back from that. But a second one as gruesome as that, like you said, we're talking career. We're not even just talking about the season. We're talking about career, time in Cleveland. Like, what are they going to do about his contract? Are they going to pay it the rest of the way? I don't know how exactly it's structured, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one to come back from. And you hope that Jerome Ford is ready. I know that they added Kareem Hunt today, another running back that's obviously familiar with the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski's offense. But back to Chubb. Yeah, you just hate to see that. All-time favorite.
Awesome guy.
favorite there in Cleveland.
Awesome guy.
Everybody loves him. Even my barber today, a Pittsburgh fan, loves Nick Chubb and just hated to see that too. Like you said, the fans were applauding him when he got off, and not looking good. Not looking good.
I mean, even Pat McAfee said on his show today, I think it was like Pittsburgh's a rough place to go in and play, right? And their rowdy fans might not be the most respectful at times. But like when they themselves at Pittsburgh are seeing that, I think that showed you, one, the respect they had for Nick Chubb, because I think everyone respects him. The leadership in that locker room that's been lost, at least on the game day basis or like during the game, like I think this now puts so much more emphasis on the fact that Deshaun Watson was never the leader of this team. Like he was never the guy that this team was running through. It was always through Nick Chubb, and it was just, supplementary, and we saw it. And so before we get into how they're going to replace him and what's next, let's get into the game itself. Josh, what did you feel like? I felt that first play of the game was kind of the telltale sign of how the whole game kind of went. When that becomes a pick six and you're going, great, I thought that Deshaun Watson we were going to get back, but I have this very weird feeling inside that this might be the Deshaun Watson we're going to have, at least for the foreseeable future. What were your thoughts on the game? How do you feel the Browns played? How did you feel the defense played, the offense played, and so on?
I feel like Cleveland is the better team on paper, more talent, but obviously the Pittsburgh played the better game. And just to add on everything that we were talking about that would have to happen, like the star player getting hurt and TJ Watt in the defensive line wreaking havoc on us. And it wasn't even necessarily Watt, but Highsmith was getting in there and Ogunjobi was getting in there. Deshaun Watson, like you said, performance doesn't look like it was the rain that was holding him back, at least week one. It looks like this might actually be who he is. Then you throw in 2 defensive touchdowns by Pittsburgh, a missed field goal by Hopkins, and Cleveland gave this game away. And you can either say that it was a one-off and just coincidence that all that stuff happened, or maybe we don't have a top offensive mind in the league at head coach. Maybe Deshaun Watson is average and has lost it. Now you lost your star running back, Nick Chubb, and maybe our offensive line isn't top tier. Our defense, though, validated. We have a stud defense that just major disservice done to them by the way that the offense played football. And some of the stats, Ben, I woke up and couldn't believe were Pittsburgh being 4-14 on third downs, didn't run a single play in the red zone, entered the fourth quarter losing, generated negative offensive yardage in that fourth quarter, and still somehow managed to win that game. That should never all combine to happen. And going into the game, we counted it as a win. We're like, they're going to beat Pittsburgh. They're probably going to beat Tennessee the week after that, and they're going to start off 3-0. It's going to be great. I've never been that confident in a win over Pittsburgh as I was this time. And they managed to give it away.
It's a Browns way of losing. This was the most Cleveland Browns way of losing I've ever seen. And
it runs deep. It's the organization, dude.
But think about it, dude. Just think about this. The offense gave up more points than the defense. The offense gave up more points than the defense. And to me, Delpit, who everyone, by the way, I wanted to point out that I was never questioning Delpit, but everyone for the last year and a half was questioning Delpit's not the guy. Get rid of him. He's deadwood. Dude, Delpit might be the second best defensive player on this team. He is an absolute freak. He's back to his Thorpe winning ways. And I think you have Ward, who's just phenomenal on the outside. Emerson's great. You have 2 defensive ends now that are, they just dominate. They get pressure. They might not always sack the quarterback, but all the questions I had about this defense, Josh, were answered. Like I feel like this is the first time where I've went, this is the first time I think they've said the Browns defense is better than the Browns offense in a very long time. And it's awesome to see. It's just, I feel like we're in this like weird, I feel like it's almost like college football, right? It's like, I feel like this year we have a great defense, but the offense isn't that good. And what's next year going to be? And I think as Browns fans, we've been searching so long to have a team that's equivalent across the board. And to feel like the defense is there, to feel like we have a defense that we can believe in and go, I trust that Jim Schwartz and that defense is going to get stops on third down, which, by the way, Browns fans, we all know we never get stops on third downs. That's just what happens as a Cleveland Browns fan. But then you look, and I think about all the years the last couple of years, how close we've been and things like that. And then I look what the offense did, and I just felt like me and you both questioned the $230 million move. Like, maybe not as much as you did. I question it, but you definitely question it more. I look at it now and I go, like, if this is what we're getting, then please find a way to get out of the contract. Like, to me, I would rather, I'm going to say this, and I'm sure Browns fans are about to obliterate me in the comments. If this is what we're going to get, and with now Nick Chubb out, and you don't know what the offensive line is going to be like, not saying, I think, to be honest, Juwan Jones looked better than Willis. It wasn't even close. I think we don't know what the O line is going to be like. We don't know, like, what this offense is really going to be like. Part of me is like, just tank. And I never thought I would say that in a million years. But and you don't have that first round pick, but hey, you know what? You find a way to make it work. I don't know. To me, it's just, I am so frustrated because I was trying to defend Deshaun Watson. I was trying to defend the Browns making this move. And after every media outlet was bashing about it, not the political stuff, not the off the field, but like generally just him as a player. I now I'm going like, dude, you didn't have rain to complain this time. You didn't have whatever excuse you want to have. And to me, it's just, it was so tough to watch, man. Like, I just felt like when Chubb went down, I was like, okay, maybe we can hang on. And yet he had 2 face mask penalties. He had a fumble that was returned for a touchdown, another fumble lost, and then an pick 6 that he threw. So to me, I hate to say it falls on the quarterback, but as a former quarterback, a lot of the game falls on you and your decision making. And I'm so frustrated, man. Like, I haven't been this frustrated in a while about the Browns.
Yeah, even Ford, who I'm not even a big fan of, came in and rushed over 5 yards of carrying over 100 yards. So it really does kind of fall on Deshaun. And that was a guy that, like you said, I didn't like the trade. I wasn't a fan of it, but people were slowly convincing me all throughout camp that it was going to work out. Like, he got I guess the minimal punishment possible, if you will, last year, with just getting the 11 games, and he's gotten all the reps in. He's played enough football at this point that it's like, okay, this isn't rust anymore. This is either like a mental thing with him that he needs to work through, or it's a mechanical thing that he just was out of football too long, and there's repercussions for that. Like, we don't usually see guys come back to the way that they used to be when they miss significant time like that.
Look at Calvin Ridley. He hasn't missed a step. Like, it's like 2 different dudes about the same thing. And it's 2 different dudes, but it's the same idea. They missed time. One missed a whole year. The other one missed almost a whole year. And yet Calvin Ridley looks like a guy who literally just got off the field yesterday.
Yeah, he's looking fresh.
And it's just mind-boggling.
The other thing that I was going to add on to is, you can blame this on the offensive line, but Deshaun was top 5 in the league in yards and touchdowns in Houston with a bad offensive line over there. And he's performed under pressure.
The problem is he holds on to the ball too long. If you watch him, he holds on to that ball way too long. As a quarterback, man, if you don't get that ball out in 3 seconds, either you take off or you just throw it away. Like, you can't just hold it. Like, these are NFL dudes. It doesn't matter how good the defense is. You have TJ Watt across from you. Like, it's crazy. But I do want to, before we answer some questions about the Browns, I do want to talk about, obviously they lost, but I want to talk about what you think going forward. Obviously, they just signed Kareem Hunt. As we're recording this
just
happened hours ago. They have signed Kareem Hunt. Now, I've heard some people that are against it. They're like, well, he wanted out of Cleveland. No one really picked up traction on him. What is your thoughts on Kareem Hunt? And I know that also Stefanski came out and said that Jerome Ford is the guy. How long until Kareem Hunt takes the job?
I don't know. It's weird. When Kevin Stefanski has his guys, he has his guys. Like, why do we feature Harrison Bryant so much? Even last year when we had Hunt and Chubb, Ford was getting on the field in some ways, like even on the kickoffs, and he just forces guys onto the field that he likes. So if he's saying that Ford's his guy, I imagine it's going to be that way for probably the most part. There's probably not too many lies about that. But I love Hunt. I know some people have thrown around trading for Jonathan Taylor or going out and getting a guy like Michael Carter. And
Just
I don't
sign a
know if
guy.
a trade for a running back, especially when you look all around the league right now at
They're all
the
injured.
injuries, the failures, like Josh Jacobs looks pretty crappy. Barkley's hurt. J.K. Dobbins is hurt. Excuse me. There's just not a lot of running backs that are looking really good right now. So I don't know if trading for a running back is what's going to save us, especially when we just
And
said
you
all
bring
that
a guy,
stuff
but
that's wrong with the passing
yeah,
game.
you bring in a guy though. Think about it. You bring in a guy who knows the offense. He's been there for 4 years. He knows the culture. He knows he's from Cleveland, and he
Yep.
was cheaper than going and giving a bunch of draft picks. First off, you're blessed that he wasn't picked up by anybody, because I think that's a real, him and Fournette both. I don't know why they have not been picked up yet. It's still mind boggling to me. Some people are saying they should go out and get Fournette. I personally like Hunt because one is familiarity. It's less time for him to get acclimated. And two, he's such a threat in the pass game. And we know Deshaun Watson likes to throw those short passes, get it to a guy that can do some things. And maybe with this time off that he's now healthy. So we know Kareem Hunt was not himself last year. He averaged a career low in yards per carry, a career low in yards per catch. I think he needed this time off. And I think that maybe you bring him in. And my gut tells me Ford starts this week, plays a lot this week. And then I think then I just, you can't have a back like Kareem Hunt and then do the same thing you did to him last year with a less capable back in front of him. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's not like Hunt's not going to see the field at all. Even week one with both backs healthy, Ford ended up getting 16 carries in that one. I think Chubb had over 20, so we could see the same kind of ratio between Ford and Hunt.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I'm very fascinated by this, but Josh, I do want to talk to you a couple questions before we preview this next week. I do want to ask you two questions. One question: do you feel that Stefanski is overhyped about his offensive capabilities as a coach?
Yes. But I've thought that since he got in.
Now, I know you have. I know you've been more on that line of like, okay, let's not praise him too much.
He does things different, right? Like he tries to go for it on fourth down every time, and he runs different kind of packages, likes to have a lot of different tight ends and running backs involved, and he seems to get the most out of the least, like guys like Kirk Cousins and Jacoby Brissett, and we were hoping Baker Mayfield and Deshaun now, but I've heard a lot of people throw around lack of creativity, set in his ways,
old school.
That's it's kind of funny to call it old school too, when he's like a nerd in statistics kind of guy.
But he plays old school.
Old school, yeah. So I don't know if I like the word old school in that, but this always seems to be the demise of coaches. If they can't update or change to stay relevant, then they go away, because their excuse is always that they didn't execute their system. They didn't execute the system today, and it's like maybe the system's what's broken.
Yeah, to me, to answer that question that I just asked, I think it's on the line of overrated. Like there are moments, I think we both can agree, there are moments like, wow, Stefanski, great call, or hey, great choice of this, these plays or whatever. But I guess for me, I'm just like, I'm kind of bored of it now. Like, I'm like, dude, you've had all this time. And I'm telling you, this might have been the best. I hate to say this. It might have been the best thing for Stefanski, for Chubb to get hurt, because I think now his job's on the line. And I truly believe that's like, if the Browns go under 500 this year, they don't make the playoffs, I do not believe Stefanski has a job next year. I do
Might
not
not
believe
even be him. It's like when you go all in on a quarterback like that, and you've basically this is the rebuild from 2016, all those Owen seasons that we had, the 1-31 stretch, and all those picks that we accumulated. And this is what we got now. So if this is what Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have built, and this is the ceiling, they might both be gone.
Yeah. And like, to give credit, the Haslams have told them, like, do what you need to do to win. And I feel like my gut tells me that even if they would go 10-7, even if they would make the wild card even, and then they would lose, or they barely miss the playoffs, I still don't think they're back next year. Like, it's hard for me to look and go, you can't spend that much money on a quarterback, have these many dudes you bring in free agency, and you to be subpar or average.
I don't know about 10-7. I think if they're finishing with a winning record and getting the playoffs, that's gonna buy them more time, because it's like, okay, we missed the playoffs last year, we missed the playoffs the year before, and now we're back. Okay, so this is something that we can build on for next year. And I know part of your argument there is that they've been building on that for quite a bit, but it's tough for me to imagine that you're gonna go ahead and let all those guys go and
I would
quit
say
on
this.
it when they get
I
back
think
to the
maybe
postseason.
I think one of the two would be gone. That I'll put it that way. I think either Andrew Berry would be gone or Stefanski, if that would. Like I think you have to make a move at one point. Like it's the only way I would say is they would probably use the thing of like, well, look what they did without Nick Chubb. Like, and that was like the one chip they would have. Like, look what we did without our best player. But yeah, anyways, I think that's fascinating part. And the other question I have for you, Josh, is do you feel like the Browns now, do you feel like they need to pass the ball more, or do you think that you just stick with what you got, even though it might not be Nick Chubb, and still feed your offense off of running the ball?
Yeah, we're still having success in the run game, and I think we still gotta try with Deshaun to an extent. Figure out what's gonna work. Try different things out. Get Harrison Bryant off the field.
Oh,
Get Amari
please,
Cooper
dude,
and Elijah Moore
please.
more involved. Leave Njoku out there at tight end only. It's just
Like Harrison Bryant
yeah,
is just not. Yeah, no.
I'm all about like trying to make it work and with our quarterback situation, but I'm not. I mean, we always do our best when we are running the football. Like that's what we need to do is get
Yeah.
that early lead and play through the run, and that's what's traditionally always worked for us, even with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. But you would have thought that Deshaun would have brought more creativity to the pass game, and maybe we're still trying to figure that out, or maybe it'll never be figured out. But
Yeah, it's true.
Something's got to change there. I would be fine with sticking with the more run first approach with Ford and Hunt though if it's working.
Yeah, agreed. So now that we looked at this past week, obviously, again, prayers up to Chubb and his recovery as well as with his family. But now we look ahead. We got the Tennessee Titans, who are also in their weird like semi rebuild, but not rebuild. I don't really know what they're doing, to be honest with you. It's weird.
It's a weird situation over there for sure.
So what are your thoughts looking at this game? Obviously, we know what we have now. We don't know how much Kareem Hunt will play this week. But we look at this game. How do you feel like the Browns match up with the Titans, and what are your thoughts on what the results of this game will be?
Yeah, I thought it was guarantee that we start off 3-0, but the Titans have been close, dude. They lost to the Saints by week 1. They're coming off with a win, and obviously they like to play through Derrick Henry. I feel like we've not that Pittsburgh gashed us in the run with Najee Harris, but Joe Mixon had a decent game.
Yeah, he did
against us. So that's something that I would look at is, excuse me, is how the defense is going to handle a run first offense with one of the best backs in the league, because that's definitely what the Titans want to do. If we can get that earlier lead and make Tannehill throw around a little bit more, I feel good about what our secondary can do. Feel good about what the defense could do in general. We've done really well against both teams we've played so far. It looks like we're a little bit better at the pass defense than the run D though at the moment. And then offensively, it's like I don't feel as confident as I should, given everybody on our roster and how we talked to the offensive line, the run game, and the pass game. And I feel like this is going to be a closer game than what it should. Cleveland right now, I think, is only a 3.5 point favorite right now, but I would expect a low scoring, ugly, boring football game if I had to give a prediction here, Ben. We might not even see both teams reach the 20s.
Yeah, it's going to be an ugly game. Yeah, it just is. Like, it's just you have two teams that just have no quarterback play. They rely on the run game. One doesn't even have the running back. Their starting running back, Henry, let's be honest, has not, I think, looked like Derrick Henry.
Not yet. I think he's got 143 yards in 2 games so far.
Yeah. So he hasn't looked completely like, Derrick Henry of old, but dude, this is a game where, like, I say this, and I mean it, this could be a game where it's like 9-6. Like I look at this game and go, neither team has got like a dynamic offense. They both have pretty good defenses, or decent defenses. So yeah, it's just fascinating. Again, I got to see how the Browns run the ball. Can they stop Derrick Henry? This is the thing. If you stop Derrick Henry, against the Titans, you pretty much shut down their offense. If you can slow him down, maybe he'll get his 100 yards, but you slow him down. He's getting 3 yards instead by 25 yards. To me, I think that makes a difference. And I think that it's going to be a tight game. My score prediction, what I came in my head today. See, the thing is, it changed because during the game, I was like, oh, this is going to be a high scoring game. Then when Chubb got hurt, I kind of changed my mind. But I'm going to go with Browns 13, Titans 6. That's what I'm going to go with there. Browns 13, Titans 6. By the way, I'm going to go Titans 6. Bold prediction. The extra point gets blocked.
So the over-under is 40. So they're thinking like a 21-18 kind of game here too.
But I'm going less than that.
I'm going 17-14, and I don't feel comfortable picking a winner.
Jeez.
Tannehill is.
You know how high we were, man. We were such on a high last week. We were so excited about the Browns, and now we're like back to depressing Browns fans.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and put a Cleveland victory on there. What are the odds, Ben, that we give up 2 defensive touchdowns in this one, miss a field goal, lose another running back, the offensive line gets torched, and it can't happen back-to-back weeks, right?
We're Browns fans, of course.
We come out with a win. It's going to be an ugly win, but we come out and bounce back. Tannehill's got 3 picks. Maybe we can get 2 more.
Of course, dude. Of course, we're Browns fans. Of course, it can happen. No, I look at this, man. I just think it's gonna be one of those games that you just like, oh boy, just get it over with. No, it's so frustrating because you want to be so confident, and at the same time, you're like, oh boy. That's at least what my head feels. But no, I think it's gonna be a fascinating game. And I think it's gonna be one of those games where you get to test a lot of things about a lot of the players. Do you have any bold predictions? My other bold prediction is that I'm going to say Jerome Ford runs for 140 yards on the ground. 140 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. That's my second bold prediction.
Do you remember what your bold prediction was against Pittsburgh?
I believe I said something about Chubb running the ball, but I cannot remember. I do know I said something about the defense. I just don't remember what I said about the defense.
I said Deshaun would have 3 touchdowns in that game, and he had 1.
So what is your 2 bold predictions this week, Josh? You got to have 2. Come on, be positive.
2 bold predictions?
Yes. Or semi-bold predictions. It doesn't have to be fully bold. What, the offense scores more than the defense gives up?
Yeah, I don't have anything for you. I haven't thought enough or looked into it enough. I'd like to say that.
I'll ask this then. Do you believe that the offense will not allow more points than the defense will allow? Do you believe that?
I almost want to say the defense will score more than the offense as my bold prediction in this one.
Just do it.
Gross.
Might as
Cleveland defense and special team scores more than its offense.
If that becomes true, you will be truly immortalized. No, there's quite a few other games. Again, Josh and I have been too depressed to really think about other games. No, I mean, look, I look at the Bengals, for instance, dude. The Bengals look awful. Like, I thought the Browns looked bad on Monday. Dude, the Bengals look really bad.
Imagine being a Bengals fan. Imagine being a Bears fan. Imagine being a
dude. Did you see that the stat line through 27 games? Justin Fields has worse stats than Mitch Trubisky.
Imagine being a Vikings fan, or a Chargers fan, or a Broncos fan.
Justin Fields he's won 5 games. He's 5-22, and he's got sacked 100 times in like 3 years. It's just
I'll tell you what, some of the film that I saw from week 2, all the open receivers that he just did not see or looked at and didn't even throw.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
Man. It hurt me.
The thought before was he's just under pressure too much and has no help, and it's looking like it might have been him all along.
I'll say this though. CJ Stroud, if he actually had a decent offensive line and on a decent team, that dude is tearing it up. Have you seen his numbers? They're phenomenal.
I think you're happy that the Panthers took Bryce Young if you're the Texans and let CJ Stroud fall right to
I'll be
you.
honest with you. Bryce Young looks not good. He lined up behind the guard, man. Did you see that video? He lined up behind the guard. I'm just like,
not sure what's going on there. Hopefully it works out for the Panther fan base. But right now, I mean, you and I have both been high on CJ Stroud as the QB1 of this class. And
he looks like it.
At least through 2 weeks, he looks like it. Yeah.
With a bad offensive line, a very bad offensive line.
Yeah.
And you know who looks like a QB1? Your man Baker Mayfield. Your man Baker Mayfield's starting to look like Baker again. Little swag.
They're 2-0. They're 2-0. They definitely got to test with the Eagles this.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a
Monday night. But the Eagles, while they're 2-0, don't look like the same Eagles that we've seen lately also, either. Though
I saw this video or no, this post. It said the last 3 Monday nights, Chubb has a nasty leg injury. Rodgers goes down with an Achilles, and the player from Buffalo collapsed the last 3 Monday nights. So
yeah,
what could happen this Monday night? No one knows.
Well, we got an Eagles-Bucks matchup and a Rams-Bengals matchup. So
who knows what's going to happen? I'm just saying. But no,
who knows?
It is fascinating of what's happening around the league. There's a lot of stories out there, just some cool stories for this year. But again, I love football, and it's a time to be alive. So, Josh, with that, we've talked a lot about the NFL. Let's shift to college football. Is there anything other than the fact that I am better than Josh right now in our fantasy league? Just want to point that out. Is there anything over this past weekend you looked at college football and some of the storylines that maybe popped out in your head that you thought were fascinating? And if you want, I'll even let you start on the floor with your Florida Gators.
Well, I'll say, like last week we mentioned, I don't think that there were any top 25 matchups. In fact, if you were a casual college football fan, it looked like a pretty boring slate, but it did not turn out that way. We had Florida State only beating Boston College by 2.
I was shocked, dude. And yet somehow they're still ranked in the top 5, which it's whatever. It's fine. Ohio State barely beats the team, and they've dropped down 3 spots.
Let's see, and then as you mentioned, the Florida Gators shocked the world and beat the Volunteers of Tennessee. Tennessee's other football team. We see South Carolina and Georgia. It was close at least in the first half, and then Georgia turned it up in the second.
Can you imagine what Kirby Smart did in that locker room? I cannot imagine what he was saying in that locker room. I don't think we want to know what he was saying.
We had some rain in that one, but it was a night and day different Georgia team, and that defense looks freakishly good, fast.
Oh yeah, and we saw Alabama almost lose to South Florida on the road. I don't think we ever now that.
Jalen Milroe is back at quarterback.
Thank goodness. I don't know why that was just whatever. That's
and then maybe the game of the night was the Colorado State one. Jay Norvell, the coach for Colorado State, threw some shade at Deion Sanders throughout the week. For wearing shades. And, yeah, no pun intended there. But Deion took it personal, and you would have figured that the Buffaloes would have easily covered the 24 or 28-point spread or whatever it was. They trailed most of the night and needed double overtime, but they came out with the win in the end. But not without losing Travis Hunter.
Which, by the way, I want to just say this right now. That other kid does not deserve death threats. And I know Deion came out and talked about it. Like, guys, it's a football game. Yeah, he made a cheap shot. I'll be honest, it was a cheap shot. You could tell he totally was trying to take him out. It was a cheap shot,
but I've seen that play 1,000 times
I have
in
too,
football.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything out of the ordinary or anything overly egregious.
He was just trying to hit him hard. And
yeah.
So that and even Travis Hunter said, dude, it's football, man. You play
football, and Shador is out here poking people's eyes or whatever through their helmets. Yeah. Allegedly, I didn't see that part.
I think Deion, if you're listening, if you could send your gold shades, a pair of those. I know they're out of stock right now because I looked online. To Josh and I, we'd wear them during the podcast, 100%. We'd totally
big Colorado fans here,
dude. Domination. This was the game, and I said this last week, and I still am not 100% behind Colorado. This game showed me that they have a long way, I think, because Colorado State showed that their defense is Colorado's defense is not that good. It's really not as of now. And the Sanders, his other boy, not Shador, the Shiloh, dude, that dude take plays off. Have you seen him? He'll just like walk in the middle of a play, and it drives me nuts. I'm like, dude, as a coach, it irks me. But no, I just think that game was fascinating all the way around. Of course, it's like the perfect not the Cinderella, but it's like a Disney movie. Like, just let Dion win until he goes to USC and gets their butts handed to him this week.
Oregon,
sorry, still butts getting handed to him. Josh, let's go back to that Florida-Tennessee. As a Florida fan, as someone who has kind of not berated, but really has been very frustrated with the way that things have been handled down at Florida. Not only have you produced a top 5 pick who then has went around and got a concussion, we'll talk about that. How do you feel about your Florida Gators? Do you feel like Florida's back, or do you feel like this is just a hiccup in the fact that Tennessee is not that good?
Two things. One, you can't overlook a matchup at the Swamp.
That is true.
This early in the season, with how hot it is there in Florida, this was something that I think really helped them beat Utah last year too, is just being used to that weather. Say what you want about the crowd. I mean, it is a big crowd. It's probably a top 10 environment in all college football, but the heat too. And we've only lost, I think, 2 of the last 20 matchups to Tennessee at the Swamp. And we've had some bad seasons mixed in there, Ben. So never count out Florida in a matchup at the Swamp, number one. Number two, this Tennessee team is not anywhere near what Tennessee's team last year was. No. Not with Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, and Brew McCoy. This Joe Milton version with limited playmakers and apparently a terrible rushing defense with how Florida ran the ball against them.
So bad.
So bad. Yeah. Josh Heupel's got his work cut out for him out. I don't know if he just doesn't have the guys, but Tennessee has taken a step back.
Oh, for sure.
A big step back. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that they can't go like 10-2 like they did last year, but
it's going to be a lot harder.
It's going to be a lot harder, especially when you still have to play that Georgia and that Bama matchup, which maybe the Bama matchup isn't going to be as hard as what we initially thought either. But still, Tennessee's got its work cut out for him now.
Yeah. And I think Florida looked really great. I mean, I was happy for you, man. I thought of you when I saw Florida score. I was like, he's so happy.
I got a couple texts. Yeah.
He's so happy. This is the only time Josh gets texted in a year, because most people forget about Florida halfway through the year. Oh, I'm sorry. That was too sad.
The other thing that I can't not mention, did you see the ending when Mertz took the knee?
Yeah, that was.
And they knocked him over, and then the two guys legit squared up.
Dude, just take a normal knee. Don't do this running knee, dude. Just take a normal knee, and there's no problem. And first off,
the two guys that squared up, that was hilarious. Hilarious. And also, are you going to really punch a guy with a football helmet? Yeah. Are you going to punch a guy in the helmet? That's just going to bust your hand. Yeah.
Terrible form.
That made me laugh. When I saw that.
I believe 3 guys got suspended, 3 or 4. Did 4 guys get suspended? I can't remember.
Not sure, but
I know
probably should have been more.
Probably should be like the whole team. No, that actually reminds me of the Jeff Goff hit on Sunday, where he faked. It was such a good fake, he just got obliterated by the defender. But no, it was rough. But no, I think, man, Florida's got it going, and if Florida can be back to Florida, man, and I think you agree with me this one, Josh. If Florida can get back to what Florida was back in the late 2000s, dude, that's good for football. Florida being good at football is good for football, and it will make the Florida State matchup freakishly awesome. It will make Florida versus Georgia, Florida versus Bama, like those games will be meaning something, which will be phenomenal.
Florida State's good again. USC is good again. Texas is good again.
Yeah.
Colorado's good again. Like maybe Miami's good again.
Ohio State's still good.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, you want to talk about that
let's do
Ohio State game, and then the Ohio State Notre Dame game that we got this Saturday.
I'll say this, going to the game, Josh, you know how I'm a very negative person at times when it comes to Ohio State football when I'm frustrated. I will tell you this, that I was so impressed with Kyle McCord. Like, I don't know. Did you watch any of the game? I don't know if you saw any of the game or any of the.
At halftime of Georgia, South Carolina, I flipped it over when it was, I think 14-10 at the moment.
Dude, did you see how fast?
Did you
see how fast they got to 42 points? That was so fast.
It got there very quick. And I know you're probably leading to this, but I think that's the most confident and comfortable Kyle McCord has looked this season so far.
Oh, and you know what it was? And I guarantee this is what it was. It's Joel Klatt said it. He said it, I think, on his show or something like that, where he's like, when you name a starter, it takes the pressure off of that starter. He does not have to worry about competing. He can just go out there and be free. And you saw that. He was making, dude, his fourth read. He didn't do that the first two games. He was going one read. Oh, crap. But that throw, I don't know if you saw that throw to the Harrison, the seam, which by the way, first off, why are you running a zone coverage and saying, hey, safety, you got Harrison, just keep it up with him? That safety turned and saw Harrison behind him. He's like, oh, crap. And he ran so fast, and Harrison's just looking at him like, yeah, okay, try. I dare you. No, I thought Harrison had a great game. I thought Ibuka looked like Ibuka. Dude, Cade Stover finally showed up. The against Youngstown State, he was like not there at all. Missed blocks, whatever. The offensive line looked great. Henderson, okay, if anyone says who's the number one back, it's Henderson.
I was going to say, I think the running game overall just looked like it made a lot more sense.
By the way, Trainham, if you didn't know, is faster than Henderson, and he showed it. 240 pounds running that fast is just, it's mind-boggling. The little concern I have is the fact that Maya Williams, I don't know how healthy he is, but also Dallin Hayden has not touched the ball at all this year, which makes me wonder. Evan Pryor did over Dallin Hayden, so it's really making me wonder. Him going to him almost transferring to Tennessee, was that really because Ryan Day has kind of said, hey, you're gonna have to fight for your spot? Because it's very fascinating to me that he went from being kind of that number 2-3 guy to now he's fifth on the depth chart. It's really fascinating to me. But no, I thought they looked great. The offensive line looked a lot better. I'm still worried about the left tackle. The left tackle position is just stressing me out as an Ohio State fan, because it's not like he did terrible. It's just the guy has like 4 penalties every game, and it really bothers me. Defense looked absolutely phenomenal. This is the best Ohio State
especially
defense.
For a team that passes a lot.
Yes, and I've said this. And I said this too. Like, I said last year Ohio State's defense was good early on, but like I mean, like, this defense compared to last year's team, it's still way better than last year's defense. They gave about the same amount of points so far, but dude, the way this defense played against the pass, and the way against a team, by the way, Austin Reed is not a slouch of a quarterback. Corley's not a slouch of a wide receiver. They held them in check, and dude, Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, dude, that defensive line is absolutely phenomenal. If they would just play 4 good guys instead of rotating so much. But dude, they played great. I had nothing but good to say about it, and I don't know what your thoughts were, but how do you feel like, looking at the stats, looking at what they did? How do you feel like they did going into this big game?
Yeah, if you would have asked me before the Western Kentucky game how I would have felt about Ohio State Notre Dame, I thought Notre Dame, at least at this point, has looked a little more ready for a big game like that. But like I said, I think McCord looked confident. I think they got the running back situation figured out. They don't need to be playing 4 or 5 different guys. I think they got like the 2 that they like and are just going to stick with those guys. The defense got, they're tasked with a team that likes to, air raid style, throw the football, and they're probably going to get another one like that with Notre Dame, honestly, because Sam Hartman can sling it too. It's just going to be maybe some higher recruits that they're going to be dealing with over there. So I do feel like Ohio State's ready now. Yeah. This is a 6 versus a 9 matchup right now. It is at South Bend, so this time it's at Notre Dame's place.
Fortunately, it's 1:30 my time. Fortunately, it's 1:30 my time in the morning, so it'll be a fun game to watch.
Fun game to watch indeed, yeah. But I'm sure you feel more comfortable too, and I think I even lean a little Ohio State in this one, and at least the books do right now. Ohio State's a 3-point favorite right now.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think if you would have asked me before the Western Kentucky game, I'd been very nervous to say Ohio State would go in to win. Right now, I feel very confident in Kyle McCord. I feel confident in Ryan Day. I just really don't want this to be like a Michigan game where they're just playing to win. I want them to play to dominate. I want them to be like against Georgia, where they were literally risking every play to win the game and to put a statement piece. look, Ohio State, and I heard some people on a Ohio State podcast today talk about it. It's very easy at Ohio State because of all the criticism that comes. Like, if you don't put up 60 points, you're not good enough. If you don't keep a team for under 17 points, you're not good enough. If you don't throw for 300 yards, you're not good enough. If you don't run for 100 yards, you're not good enough. It's this excellence that Ohio State fans and the program has to it. And you got to go and make that statement. You have a former Ohio State football player coaching, obviously, for Notre Dame. James Laurinaitis was there last year. Like, there's Styles transferred to Ohio State. Like, there's a former Ohio State, Jean Baptiste. He plays for Notre Dame. Like, there's a lot of connections. And again, I think we both love when it's Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Two blue bloods just knocking it around in the trenches. And I feel very confident. And in fact, I had 7 score predictions before today's recording, and I scratched them all out, and I came up with a final one. I think the final score will be, I think Ohio State drops 40. I think it's going to be 45. I think Notre Dame is going to be held to under 20 points. I think it's going to be 45-17. I think Ohio State wins by 28. I'm not saying that Ohio State's that much better. I think at the end of the day, the talent level of Ohio State, the recruiting level of Ohio State will overcome that leaps and bounds. I think they might maybe not contain Hartman, but they'll say, hey, either you throw against us or you run against us. And I think that's what they're going to decide to do. That's what Knowles is going to do, is like figure out which one you want to do against us. I'm going to go 45-17. And I think 2 bold predictions I have for this game. I'm Mr. Ben Bold Prediction guy, I guess, today. One bold prediction is that I believe that Travion Henderson runs for 100 yards and has 40 yards receiving, has a receiving and a rushing touchdown. That's my number 1 bold prediction. And my second bold prediction is that I believe that the Ohio State defense will have not 1, but 2 pick sixes.
Maybe my bold prediction then is that this is going to be a 1-score game with my prediction. I got Ohio State 34-27 right now.
Okay.
Like I said, I feel better about Ohio State, but I don't feel that good that they're gonna just blow these guys out.
It's not a Ben Bowden prediction without being really obnoxiously wild.
It wasn't a blowout last year in week 1 at Ohio State, and I'm not sure that it'll be this time either. But I think Ohio State can cover that 3.
Would you be surprised? Would it not surprise you if Ohio State won by like 28 points?
It would not.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I guess the bold prediction for Josh is the fact that it's only going to be a 7-point game, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, 1 score is what we do have some more ranked matchups, though. I'll read the slate for you, Ben. So also happening at 7:30, if you do end up getting your blowout and want to switch channels, is Iowa
I'm going to
the
bed,
whiteout.
If it's a blowout, I'm going to bed.
Oh.
That's what's happening.
Casual.
I ain't staying up any longer.
Kidding.
I don't care, man.
Yeah. Iowa at Penn State for the whiteout game. That's a 7 versus 24.
That's gonna be a blowout, dude. That's gonna be a blowout. That's not.
Yeah, I hate that that's the whiteout game too, but
that's
whatever.
Gonna. Dude, I literally could see Penn State winning by like 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Very well.
See that easily.
Drew Aller didn't look so hot this last week against Illinois, but maybe he'll snap out of it against Iowa. We got Oregon State at Washington State as well. That's a 14 versus 21.
Oregon State's
2 3-0 teams.
Oregon State's
That's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, I think they're
going to win that.
So Cam Ward and DJ Uiagalelei have looked really good so far.
So Josh, you're telling me that there was a coaching problem at Clemson?
Well, there could be a coaching problem, or it could just be that the toughest team that I think they've faced so far is like San Jose State.
Hey,
so
give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I mean, even in their bad games last year, he didn't look good. So this is, I think, obvious progress for the dude. But the game's happening at 7. Should be exciting. We've got Ole Miss at Alabama, which is also now super interesting, seeing as Alabama already has a loss and struggled against South Florida. We've got
Miss. Jackson Dart has looked phenomenal.
Jackson Dart looks really good. Quinshon Judkins has not looked good.
But he's hurt, so who knows what's going on with him.
And the Ole Miss defense, I think there's a little more to be desired there, at least from my view so far. But again, Alabama's offense might not be able to capitalize. But we've also got number 22 UCLA at number 11 Utah. some more 3-0
That's
teams
going to
right
be.
there.
I think Utah gets beat here pretty handily.
This was a really good. This was a fun game last year, if I remember correctly.
I just think Utah without Cam Rising, it's just not going to be.
Is Cam still not back?
There's rumors that he could be and he might not be, but they've said that for 3 weeks now. So I'm going with most likely not.
Maybe not. Yeah, and this could finally be that team that can take advantage of it. And then, like we've been mentioning, number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon.
Again, that's not going to be close. Listen,
that one could be ugly. We got an over-under of 70.5, and Oregon's a 21-point favorite.
I'll be honest with you. 19 is the most, that's almost disrespectful to Colorado right now. Like, they're still building, and you're telling them they're the 19th best team in the country. Okay, I know Deion's gonna be like, "We coming, believe."
It's cool for
Deon,
TV.
I believe
purposes.
in you, man.
It's cool for
Deon. I believe in you.
Views and all that, yeah. But
Deon, I believe. But dude, your first year and you're 3-0. Like, let's not make this bigger than what it is.
You've already won 3 times as many games as you won last year.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I do want to go back, Josh, before we talk about some of these games. I want to go back to Alabama for a second.
Okay, because that was the last top 25 matchup, anyways.
I want to go back to that real quick. Nothing like. I'm not really previewing this week's game because I feel like, we can talk about it in a second. But going back to last week, on a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you that Alabama we're finally seeing the walls break around the fortress of Alabama Crimson Tide? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like you're terrified.
If 10's terrified, I'll go 6.
I was going to go 6.5. I feel like the leaks are happening. There's cracks, and we're getting
definitely
there.
See it.
The quarterback play is awful.
You've seen the recruiting stay very elite.
Yeah,
but you're also seeing the consequences of not hiring a good staff, or when you lose a good staff. Like Nick Saban, that's something he's always been good at, is hiring the right new coach to come in and take over. He's had guys like Bill O'Brien in the building, and Brian Daboll, and Steve Sarkisian, and Lane Kiffin all come through to run that offense. And this year it's Tommy Rees, who nobody would have hired to be their offensive coordinator if were given the option. And then you go and you get Kevin Steele, who was his first hire as a defensive coordinator. And I don't know what led to him leaving the first time, but for some reason, he's definitely going to be better this time. And it's like, that was, a real head scratcher at the start of the season by both of us, but we just trusted, Nick Saban knows what he's doing. And maybe, I don't want to say he doesn't, but it's like, dang, man. We've seen this with Clemson too, when they lost their elite assistants, what it's done to their program. And maybe there's more to that, just them not, staying up to date with transfer portal stuff. But this Bama team, I think it all starts with the coaching and the development side. It's not there. The talent is still there.
Oh yeah.
But like we've seen with Texas A&M, if you don't have coaching and development, it doesn't matter.
And I think that you can give props to Georgia, Ohio State, even Michigan, even Penn State, some of these other teams. Like, look at Ohio State. Like, they lose a coach, they add another elite coach. Like, it's just it's kind of that circle of development. But no, to me, it's kind of weird to see. If you looked at Nick Saban on the sidelines, he looks so confused. He looks like, what's happening? I'm so used to winning, like every day of life, I'm winning. But before we go into their game here, I'll ask you now, at this moment in time, on September 20th, as we're recording this, yes or no, Alabama finishes the season with 3 or more losses. As of right now, looking at this team.
3 or more.
Yes. 3 or more.
I think preseason I picked 3.
You did pick 3.
I will say yes. I'm feeling a little bit better about what they might be able to do against Tennessee. Like I said too at the start of the season, all their 4 hardest games are all home games, I believe. Yep. So that's the one good thing that they got going for them, is they're not going to have to go into many tough environments. But 3 losses is still looking very possible. You lose to Texas, and even still, Ole Miss is a losable game, Tennessee's a losable game, LSU's a losable game.
Yep.
But I initially thought 9-3, and I'll stick with that for now.
I'm going to go yes. Bold statement. Alabama finishes the year 8-4. 8-4. They lose to Ole Miss. They lose to Tennessee. They lose to LSU.
Mm.
And I'm not even like I've never been more like I know I'll get a lot of hate, and if I'm wrong this week, then they'll be like, "Oh, Ben, you were wrong." Dude, that's how that's how I'm just not confident right now in the quarterback situation. Like I thought Ohio State had quarterback issues at the beginning of the year. Dude, it's ugly to watch Alabama quarterback stuff. And their offensive line is not nearly what their offensive line has ever been like. They have no receiving threats outside. Like they have talent, but they're not a threat. Again, maybe they need to go to Ohio State like they did with Jamison Williams and steal a few receivers. Fine, come do it. We still believe Jamison Williams was a Ohio State product. No, I look at this game. I'm going to have, I really believe this. I think with Ole Miss and Alabama, I think Ole Miss wins by a touchdown. I think it's going to be like 28-21. I think Ole Miss comes away. Jackson Dart, I think, has a huge game, dual threat guy. I think he goes for 200 and 100. I think it's just going to be I know against the Alabama defense, which is still good, still very good. But to me, I just think that this is the game that maybe we start seeing the tumbling downward spell of Alabama for this year.
Yeah, I'm really close to picking Ole Miss, and like I said, I love what Jackson Dart
don't
looks
like going against Nick Saban. You hate going against Nick Saban.
I hate doing it. I hate going against Tom Brady, like in the NFL too. When even in that season that they were like 7-9 or whatever it was, and still somehow got into the playoffs. But you say Quinshon Judkins dealing with some injuries.
I think he's questionable to play this week.
Questionable. Okay. I mean, that's going to be really important that he plays in this game for them to be at full strength. Because I love Jackson Dart. Like I said, I'm not as big on their defense right now, but I'm not sure even with Jalen Milroe playing quarterback that Bama's offense is going to be able to take advantage of some of those weaknesses over there too. But especially if you got Judkins, yeah. I feel really good. If I'm Ole Miss about the possibilities of a win.
Judkins. Oh, actually, latest news. It looks like he's going to play. It looks like he'll play. So he was banged up, but it looks like he's going to play. Now, the issue is he's only averaging about 3 yards a carry. So,
yeah, he hasn't been himself when he has been on the field.
But it looks like he's healthy, so it looks like he's going to play.
Yeah. And, I mean, looking at the Texas game, Texas didn't run the ball too well, if I remember correctly, in that game. But it's also because they didn't need to. Quinn Ewers was, slicing and dicing the defense. And Dart can do that too. So maybe an unhealthy Judkins won't even be that big of an issue at the end of the day. But
And I will say one other game that I want to quickly talk about before we get into maybe some of our other previews, but is Oregon and Colorado. Over under. Oregon scores 50 plus. So 50 points over or under.
Yeah, they're going over 50. I mean,
oh yeah.
Colorado State basically did it, was close. TCU was close, and this is the Bo Nix Oregon offense.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
I'm gonna
Travis Hunter to stop them.
Oh, geez, don't even get me started with him. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say over. I think Oregon drops a 60 ball, and I think this is a wake up call for Deion. I think this is a wake up call for Deion.
I don't think it's necessarily a wake up call. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think the media is gonna love bringing them back down to earth after building them up the way they have.
And also the reason why I think they can score 63 is because of how much Colorado throws the ball. And we've seen this year, if you go against a team that throws the ball, like Ohio State did against Western Kentucky, you have more possessions. If you go against a team that runs the ball a lot, you have very limited possessions. So I think that's when Bo Nix is just like, okay, let me feast. I still think, though, that Colorado drops like 28 or 30 points, mainly because I think Oregon's defense is not elite. They're good. But I still think Colorado has a really good passing attack, and I think that's going to be something that I think they'll be in the game at halftime. I think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 score game at halftime, but then I think Bo Nix is just going to put it in his pocket and take it away. Mainly, I'm saying this because he's my fantasy quarterback, and I'm hoping they can actually have a good game for once. That he plays more than 2 quarters and gets me more than 28 points. Would be nice.
Yeah, with the over under at 70.5 and Oregon is a 21-point favorite, they're thinking like a 45-25 kind of game. And that just doesn't sound right. That sounds too low.
No, it sounds way too low. No, it does, and I think that's the other thing, and I think also we're going to learn a lot about Penn State this week. I think this is the first team that is like, again, I think it's going to be a blowout, but I still think it's the first time that we're going to see Penn State go against a team that I think physically can keep with them on the defensive side. Like when Iowa's defense is on the ball, I think that's a very physical defense. But if Penn State keeps playing the way they are, and Michigan, okay, by the way, why did no one talk about Michigan struggling against Bowling Green? Also, and the other fact is that Ohio State stays at 6, but yet whenever they struggle, they drop points in the poll.
Michigan still won.
But then any
blowout.
other, yeah, that's what I'm saying though. But any other team struggles, and it's just like, okay, it's whatever. I'm just salty.
Well, 23-3 against IU is a little different.
Dude, it's IU on the road.
That's an ugly final score though.
But that's the point. It's not about how ugly it was. It's the fact that you won, and we're in style points at all.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like Michigan didn't struggle too. I mean, their win was 31-6, but it sounds better.
Bowling Green. At least Indiana's like, Big Ten. But anyways, let's go into before we go. I know you sent me yours. Actually, as you're listening to this, it's already been posted, but let's just maybe give a little explanation. Let's go briefly before we finish up today. What was your what are your new, maybe not new. I mean, I know that they are, but you can let the people know. Power rankings for the teams. So your top 5 teams, this is what we do throughout the football season. What is your top 5 power rankings for college football? Go.
Did I have
do you need
Georgia?
Me to tell you what they were?
Let me try to see if I can remember.
Okay,
I think I threw Georgia, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, USC 1 through 5, right?
That is correct. Give some explanation to your choices.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with you on Michigan not looking as dominant as they probably should at this point. They've only scored in the 30s. Defense has held, I think, all their opponents under 10 though. But still, I'd like to see Michigan beat the piss out of one of these teams for once. Sure. And not that they doesn't mean that they couldn't beat, another top 10 team in the country, but
yeah,
they're starting conference play with Rutgers now. They're getting Jim Harbaugh back, and maybe it'll look a little bit different, and then Texas has the best win of the season so far over Bama.
Yeah.
And has looked good on both sides of the football too. So that's another reason why I think I've officially bumped them up to 2 now. Georgia, I mean, it's at 1, 2-time defending national champion.
1, but maybe really, a little shaky at 1.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a clear-cut elite team just yet, but they really cranked it up a notch against South Carolina. I think South Carolina is still a good, respectable win over there. And then at 4-5, it's like I'm feeling better about Ohio State. As I said, I've been waiting patiently on them with how much talent's in the building to see them put it together, and they finally did week 3. And then USC, I mean, we're waiting to see the defense get tested, but at least so far, they're looking good. Caleb Williams will do that for you. So yeah. Florida State hasn't looked quite like the team I've been having them just on that fringe, but
it's like, man, you almost lost. Why are they 4 or 3 or whatever?
Yeah, you almost lost to Boston College. Travis had an average day, and whatever team they played week 2, and
isn't he your fantasy quarterback? I believe, right?
Jordan Travis is, yeah.
Not doing you so hot.
Yeah, not as good as he was against that LSU team.
All I know is that Syracuse quarterback had 70 points in fantasy last week. Just want to point out.
Garrett Schrader.
What a man.
Dog.
No, for my power rankings, Josh, I think you might find these maybe a little interesting. You can let me know your thoughts. Number 1 is Georgia. I'd still like, yeah, they struggled, but it's Georgia. I feel like that's just, you got to put them there for now. They're the defending champion. They haven't lost. Keep them there. 2 for me, I agree with you. It's Texas. I just think that they had the best win, and their offenses look really good. The defense could be better, but still has looked solid. 3, I have Ohio State. I think this may be a little bit of bias, but I think also I think Michigan and Ohio State are like neck and neck right now. And I think Ohio State, for me, has just proven, I think this past week, that they are figuring it out. And so I think this week will be a true tell sign if they are legit the 3rd best team for me. And then 4, I have Michigan. Again, it's not that I'm not impressed. It's just kind of like they're just playing the, you know what I'm saying, Josh? They're playing the kind of games. Like just, we'll get what we need to, and go home. And then 5 for me, this was tight. This was close for me. I'm going to go USC, but Washington is knocking on the door. Washington is like they're at the door with a little thing knocking, saying hello. So for me, my honorable mention would be Washington. Again, and Penn State kind of falls out. Not that I don't think Penn State is bad by any means. I rethought everything, and I looked at Penn State, Washington, and USC, and I just feel like I trust USC's offense to put up, I think, more points. Again, I haven't seen the defense do much, but Penn State's right there as well. So that is my top 5 power rankings. Anything you disagree with? Of course there is.
Not really. I mean, I'm always gonna poke at you for putting Ohio State over Michigan, but that's about it.
A little biased. No, now we look at the Heisman rankings, and this is where I'm about to shake the apple cart. But man, Josh, please share your rankings because I can't wait to tip the apple cart.
Well, this is another one that I don't know if I necessarily will remember what I told you, but I think I had Caleb Williams 1.
Yes.
Michael Penix 2.
Correct.
Did I have Bo Nix 3?
Correct.
And number 4. Did I throw Quinn in yet?
No.
Did I throw? Who's 4?
Shedeur Sanders.
I bumped Shedeur to 4. Okay, well, who do I have at 5 then?
Dillon Gabriel.
That's right. Yeah,
he's now regretting it.
No, I'm not regretting it. I couldn't remember where I put him, if I put him at 4 or 5. But yeah, I saw some people generating Dillon Gabriel awareness for his performance so far this season.
He's my backup QB in fantasy.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of how high Dillon Gabriel is on some of these passing yards and touchdown statistics. And since Jordan Travis has had 2 back-to-back average weeks in a row, and
you want to make a trade? We can make a trade in fantasy if you want.
And I'm also not ready to put Quinn in my top 5 Heisman just yet. So I was like, well, we will go ahead and put Gabriel in there, and I don't regret it at all.
Great explanation. Professor of the year. Yes, for me, this is where my Heisman shakeup starts. Is Caleb Williams number 1? No, he's not.
Oh,
Michael Penix is number 1 for me. Michael Penix has looked absolutely phenomenal. He has looked like this. Part of it is one that there's no way they'll give the Heisman twice to the same guy. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it ever happening.
I don't think they will. I just don't think that Caleb has fallen off or had that, he's lost it yet.
Yes,
but he is going to have to outplay last season.
Exactly.
But Penix has given him a run for his money in these first few games.
Penix has looked phenomenal. I'm very mad that I did not get him for fantasy as my quarterback because Bo Nix has decided to play only a half every game. So Penix is at 1, 2 is at Caleb Williams. Again, I don't think Caleb has done anything wrong. I want people to understand this. I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is not a contender. I just think that combination of them not giving out the award to the same person 2 years in a row, and the fact that I just think Penix has had a phenomenal year. And with the bye week, it kind of hurt Caleb a little bit because he kind of couldn't keep up with the way that Penix is playing.
Well, yeah, he played week 0 too, so it's now everybody's played 3 games in that regard.
Yeah, so
he always had a game, an extra game.
Penix, then Williams, and then I have Bo Nix. Again, I think Bo Nix is when he plays a full game. He hasn't thrown a pick yet. He looks good,
consistent as always.
Yes, very consistent. Just can you play more than 2 quarters for my fantasy team? Just maybe 3.
I think he's going to play more than 2 this week.
Well, let's just hope. 4 for me was weird because I was trying to figure out what I would do. I was kind of scrapped from what I had previously. I don't even remember what I had previously, but 4 for me is yours, is Quinn Ewers. I didn't know who to put in there necessarily, and Quinn Ewers, he's got the biggest win of the belt of any quarterback, and he's looked really good. He's looked solid, and I'm in for it. Maybe because, Ohio State produced him, man. It's an Ohio State product. Sorry, I had to. I just love when Ohio State fans say that. And I'm like, dude, shut up. And then at 5, I have Dillon Gabriel. I agree with you. Everything you said about Dillon Gabriel. I like what I see. I really wish I could play 2 quarterbacks in my fantasy team because he has been averaging like 39 points a game a week. So, but yeah, overall, I think, it's there. I think Sanders for me is close. He's right on the cusp. There's a few other guys that they're on the cusp as well. But
that's what I was going to ask you is why the drop? Because you thought you were revolutionary throwing him into your top 5 last week and you've given up already.
No, I haven't given up. I think for me, it's the combination of like he looked not rough. Like he had a great end of the game. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like you look at these other guys; they've been consistent 4 quarters all the way through every single game. And you look at Sanders, and yeah, he came up with a big win, but yeah, it's a weird feeling. I don't know why, but I think he's right under Gabriel right now, and I think he'll bump back up there. If he has a great game this week, he's right back in there next week.
Yeah, to me, it's like what's going to keep him in the race is the absolutely insane numbers because
for sure.
we don't think this is going to be a 9-3, 10-2 or playoff contender team.
He's just going to have
we've seen
numbers.
Yeah, we've seen some guys put up insane numbers on like an 8-4, 9-3 team and be considered. So if Colorado can do that and he keeps, putting up the numbers that he does, I think it's going to be tough to ignore. But
without Hunter, it's going to be hard because he loves Hunter. That's like his dude. And now it's going to be tougher, I think, because teams now they have one less guy to worry about.
For sure.
And it makes it a little easier.
So he could eventually fall out of mine, but since I'm playing the stat game and not the record game right now, it's still makes sense for me to keep him in.
That is true. Those are our power rankings and our there we go, Heisman rankings. I hope you let us know in the comments what you think of ours. You can talk about how bad mine is and the fact that I'm just very biased. Of course I am. I'm a High State fan. It's just in our blood.
We got the same 5. I think the only difference was you had Michigan at 4 and I had him at 3.
Rotation. Yeah, it's just a rotation flip, But yeah, we hope you really did enjoy this week's episode. Again, we'll get back at some point to doing top 5s. It's kind of crazy with all the sporting events going on. We didn't even talk about baseball. The fact that the Reds are just blowing their chances to make the playoffs.
And Cleveland.
Today
but
they lost
Ronald
again.
Acuna is really good at baseball.
You know who's really good at baseball? None of the
Spencer
Reds
Strider.
Pitchers. None of the pitch besides. By the way, you know what's great? You finally get a great outing by the Reds pitcher today in Green. Struck out 14. You're thinking going into the 8th inning, you're up 2 runs or 3 runs, 2 runs. Going into the 9th inning, you have Alexis Diaz, most electric guy we've seen in the Reds bullpen in a long time. Only blown 2 saves all year. What does he do? Give up a 3-run bomb. That's what happens. That's what the Reds do. They just find any way to not make the playoffs. Anyways.
Yeah. Want to root for the Braves in the playoffs together?
No. I want to root for no one if the Reds don't make it. Don't even start with me. Anyways, I hope you love this week's episode. I know we enjoyed doing this, and we hope that you can give us a nice big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Let us know how much you love our show, our podcast, as they would say. We also have other videos on there. The one with my dad. There'll be another one coming out, I believe, after this week. So it fits better in line of what we're talking about. Let us know about topics you want to talk about in the future, anything like that. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you share the link with family and friends, all that fun jazz. And as always, and until next time, we'll see ya.